Hello once again, Gym Peeps. This is episode 2 of the meal prep cooking episodes, and today is going to be about cheesecake jars. That was one of the most requested ones, so I decided I'd make that episode too. So let's just jump straight into it. First up, you're going to want about a 1/4 cup of crushed graham crackers, which is about 2 of these sheets. So you just put it in here and hold on, let me switch sides. Brush them up. So once you have that ground up pretty good, up next you're also going to need another 1/4 cup of butter. And to make the measurement a little easier, a 1/4 cup is about, as you can see, 4 of these. So we're gonna slice this 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. I'm gonna melt it, put it in there, and we're gonna mix it. So to melt the butter, I just get a cup of some sort, put the butter in, and take it to the microwave. After the butter's melted, which I usually put it in for 30 seconds, stir, and then do another 30 seconds, and then it gets all the way through. What you do is you're gonna pour this into here, all around, and then you're gonna mix it all in. Now I have noticed that this crust is way too buttery for my liking, because you see how it's pretty much liquid when you add it. Sometimes I like to add a little extra shredded graham crackers until it's a more thick, solid consistency. The crust looks a lot better. Now you need to mix in 1 teaspoon of sugar. Any sort of granulated sugar works. So I just kind of sprinkle it in there. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And again, I only have the 1/4 one. I don't know where the 1/2 one went, so we're gonna do 2 of these to make it 1/2. 1. A little more. 2. Perfect. And there you have your crust to put in your jars. Now you'll want to take a little bit, put it in the bottom here, and only add enough to where it barely covers the bottom. There's no holes, no gaps in the bottom. I kind of like to pack it down just to make sure I've gotten it real good. Sometimes I need to use my finger. See how the level the crust is at? That's a little bit low for me, so I'm gonna add a little bit more because I really like the crust. Pack it down a bit more. And then this is about a good level for the crust that you'll want. Now, with the jar sizes I use, it takes a bit more than the amount you make, so I just pre-make my crust and keep it to fill in as much as I need to, so I don't have to keep repeating this for every time I make new cheesecake jars. So take the measurements with a grain of salt depending on how big your jars are. That's why I didn't give a specific measurement for scooping it out. It's kind of just eyeballing it, unfortunately. I didn't get the right size jar, so that's why I have to eyeball. But it's worked great so far, so if you get those jars filled up about this much, no matter the size of the jar, at the bottom it should be good. Once you have the crust in all of your jars, you're gonna want to bake these jars in a pan like this for 10 minutes at 300 while you're preparing your filling. And now for the fun part, making the filling. What you're gonna wanna add is, to start, 1 8-ounce brick of cream cheese. Add the whole thing. Up next, you'll want to add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Then you'll want to add a 1/2 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt, plain. I'm gonna use the 1/4 cup because I don't know where my 1/2 cup went, so 1 and 2. It's hard to get all of it out of there. Up next is a 1/2 cup of cottage cheese. So 1, this is way easier to scoop than the yogurt. 2. Up next, you'll want a scoop of vanilla protein powder. I'm using this vanilla protein powder. It's worked fantastic. Make sure you get it even. There we go. Nice scoop. Perfect. Now you'll want 1 egg. I'm using a chicken egg today, but usually I'd use a duck egg when I have them on hand because I have ducks. And the eggs are super good in baking and making things. And lastly, you'll want a teaspoon of vanilla extract. This stuff is potent, so I try to make sure I get it right exact. And now for the fun part. Blend until it is not chunky, until all of the protein powder is mixed in. And you might need to pause in between blending it and kind of use a spoon to break up some of these bigger chunks. But anyways, here we go. Really quick, I'm gonna pause so the motor doesn't actually explode. And I'm going to take a spoon and break up some of this so that it's more in the middle. It'll stop sticking. There we go. There was a big chunk of protein powder stuck. Let's see if it mixes this time all the way through. Here we go. That is nice and creamy all the way through. This will be our filling. Now that the filling is made and the jars are baked, let's go ahead and add the filling to all of these. And there's a certain amount you want to fill it to, so just for reference, you see this first ring right here? The recipe calls for 80% full, but for me, that's about that first rung right there, where the lid is usually screwed on. That's how I know it's full enough. So let me do that for all of these. Once you've gotten all of your jars full, what you're going to want to do is fill up the bottom of the pan with water. to give them a water bath. Once the pan's pretty full, you're gonna wanna put the entire pan back in the oven while it's still at 300 degrees, and you're gonna want to leave it in for 30 minutes. And then once it hits 30 minutes, you turn the stove off and you let it sit for another hour. After that, then you take them out of the oven, you go ahead and put the jars lids on, and you put them in the fridge for a minimum of 4 hours. I usually just let it sit overnight, and then I add my favorite topping, strawberry pie filling, but any pie filling works. Okay guys, I just took them out of the oven. So see, this is how it's gonna look before you put on the topping and before you put it in the fridge. Just put your lids on and put them in the fridge. I will leave them overnight and add topping tomorrow. Here's a video of a cheesecake jar I had already finished. Since it's gonna take all night for them to cool, here's what it looks like with the toppings on and after it's been cooled. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 2 of the meal prep series. I apologize I didn't get to film as much as I did the last one. I felt like some of it was unnecessary and kind of self-explanatory. Only thing I wish I could have filmed was putting on the topping. However, I'm tired, I'm hangry. I have been meal prepping, running errands, and cleaning all day nonstop from 1 p.m. until now, and it's about 11 p.m. So I'm ready to go to bed. So next time though, hopefully we'll get an earlier start, and see you guys next meal prep day. Should be next Saturday.